Hello, my name is Beatriz Llamosi. I am the CEO of Arthex Biotech, a spin-off company of the University of Valencia that is dedicated to the development of antagonist oligonucleotides to treat myotonic dystrophy patients. Let me introduce you my team. Rubén Artero and myself were the co-founders of the company. We have a small laboratory in the University of Valencia near the laboratory of Rubén Artero, where the proof of concept data of our therapeutic approach was developed. Now we have a very well-known group of experts in different fields, such as oligonucleotide synthesis and design, and also clinicians working on the field of DM. I should mention Nicholas Johnson as our chief medical advisor that is helping us with the draft of the clinical studies. In our board of directors, we have Albert Ferrer and Luis Pareras representing In Vivo Capital and Adlène Fourier representing Advent France, which are our investors, and Manu Manoharan as independent board member. He is the senior VP in Alnylam, that is a leading company in the field of siRNA. Myotonic dystrophy is a rare multisystemic genetic disease that has no treatment, and although it is rare, it is highly prevalent. It is the most common muscle atrophy in the adults, and there is more than 1 million patients all over the world. The genetic cause is very well known. It is caused by the expansion of the CTG triplet in a non-coding region of the genome that generates a toxic RNA. And this RNA is toxic because it's retaining ribonuclear proteins such as MBNL proteins. These MBNL proteins are splicing regulators, and most of the symptoms of the disease have been directly linked to the lack of function of these proteins. The most important thing is that several studies have shown that overexpression of MBNL could be therapeutic. So that's why we focused on the regulation of these proteins. We studied MBNL regulation and discovered that there are two microRNAs, MIR23B and MIR218, that are upregulated in the disease condition and are blocking the production of MBNL proteins. If we could inhibit their activity of these microRNAs, we could increase the general levels of the proteins and relieve the symptoms. So we use antagonist molecules that are single-stranded RNA that bind to the microRNAs and block them, and finally increasing the levels of the protein. We performed proof of concept of this therapeutic approach in a well-known mouse model of the disease, where subcutaneous injection of the antagonist produced a long-acting therapeutic effect. We published this information in Nature Communications and patented antagonist molecules blocking these microRNAs for the treatment of myotonic dystrophy, and then licensed this patent from the university. This is the landscape of our competitors. As you can see, most of them are focused on the same target, on the DMPK expansions that are causing the disease. Only Arthex has a unique target to treat muscle dysfunction. And there is another company, LimnoPharma, that is quite advanced in the development in phase 2. They also have a different target, but they are only focused on the cognitive dysfunction part of the disease. This is our development plan. We already obtained support from In Vivo Capital and Advent France, and also public dilutive funding from CDTI Invierte to help us in the lead optimization process. Right now, we also have the confirmation from In Vivo Capital and Advent France of their commitment of 4 million more to support us in the candidate confirmation, preclinical GLP animal studies. And by the end of next year, we are planning to open a round A to find funding for the clinical studies phases. So we envision an early exit potential once we finish phase 1, or a late exit finishing phase 2 by the end of 2024. Thank you very much for your attention.
The history of Biomar started when Dr. José Luis Fernández decided to follow his vision of a biotechnological company that will explore the huge potential of marine microorganisms. In doing so, he brought his 35 years experience as the leader of the new antibiotic discovery program in Antibióticos S.A., an oncological drug discovery from marine sources that he obtained as research director in Biomar. By doing this, he also established the 3 main pillars that during our journey have become the 3 main values of our company: innovation, sustainability, and technical excellence. Innovation is in the very way we design our approach. Our collections were designed to tap into the untouched potential of marine environment, and we have done so by doing more than 175 bioprospections in seas all over the world, which has allowed to create the world's largest collection of marine microorganisms. Our 2000 compound collection also has a high level of novelty. 25% of our compounds have never been described in scientific publications, patents, or elsewhere. Sustainability is engraved in the way we do business, as our products are by definition biodegradable. We believe that sustainability is not a fashion, it's a need, and the option to use microorganisms and their products to reverse some of the damaging effects of industrial activities. We could not do all that without a great team. We have 16 scientists, 7 of which have PhD degrees in different areas, from marine microbiology to natural product chemistry to fermentation technologies. We have focused our activities in these years in 2 main areas, agriculture and human health. In human health, we have 4 candidates, 3 of which are in preclinical stages of development and 1 which is about to start. One of the compounds is a neuroprotectant that has shown very good efficacy in animal models of Huntington disease and stroke. The second one is a compound that can prolong survival in a mouse model of glioblastoma. And the third one is an anti-inflammatory molecule that has shown efficacy in a model of multiple sclerosis. The fourth one, an antibiotic, fits in our long-term commitment for the discovery of new treatments for infectious disease. On agriculture, we have worked in biostimulants and biopesticides. In our biostimulant effort, we focused from the beginning in designing a product clearly different from the competition that will allow us a quick registration. And we have defined a product that can reduce the need of plants for irrigation and also the impact that drought will have on the crops. For biopesticides, we have worked with our partners and have defined 7 fungicides, 3 insecticides, and a nematicide, which are in different stages of development or even in field trials. So we wanted from the beginning to combine the characteristics of a family-owned business and an SME with a cutting-edge biotechnological company. We decided to do so by combining everything in a mixed model of business, which will use the benefits obtained from our services provided as contract R&D or production to support the discovery and development of our own products. So 25 years after our beginnings, we find ourselves in a sweet spot with products which are one step from market. In order to speed up this process and obtaining the near-term the benefits from royalties and sales in market, we have decided to sell our treasury shares. We believe that with this approach, we will give the opportunity to potential investors of taking advantage of Biomar's 25 years of experience and reliability and the chance to enter a cutting-edge sector such as a biotechnology in a project which is also approaching very quickly the moment of high value generation. So from Biomar, we want to invite you to join us in this project that combines passion and technical excellence in an entrepreneurial effort that will make the world safer and more sustainable.
Good morning. I am Ramon Merino. Inhibitec Anticuerpos proposed the blockade of BAMBI, that is the acronym of BMP and activin membrane-bound inhibitor, as a new therapeutic option for patients with psoriatic arthritis. Psoriasis is a chronic inflammatory disease of the skin affecting 2% of the world population. About 1/3 of these patients also develop arthritis in a clinical form called psoriatic arthritis. It is well known that both psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis are mediated by a particular subtype of inflammatory T helper cell called Th17 cells produced under the abnormal influence of transforming growth factor beta, IL-6 and IL-23. In contrast, the protective axis composed by regulatory T cells that are also controlled by TGF-beta doesn't work efficiently in these patients. Accordingly, the new treatments developed in recent years for these diseases target this inflammatory axis. However, in about 40% of patients, these treatments do not reach the minimal level of efficacy according to the ACR 20% joint response score developed by the American College of Rheumatology. In addition, the later appearance of drug resistances in patients that initially respond to treatments is frequent. Then there is a need to identify molecules involved in the development of these diseases and new treatments that improve the existing ones. In Inhibitec, we have identified Bambi as a new key molecule in psoriatic arthritis development and produced an inhibitory anti-Bambi monoclonal antibody called B100-137. The blockade of Bambi with our monoclonal antibody has therapeutic effects in these diseases, and unlike the existing therapies, Bambi inhibition promotes an enhancement in the protective Treg axis and, very importantly, at the same time, an inhibition of the inflammatory axis. Then B100-137 points to both axes instead of one. A patent extended to the European Union and USA, which is a property of the Spanish National Research Council and the University of Cantabria, protects this technology, and this patent has been licensed to Inevitec. The goal of our company is to position our monoclonal antibody as a new gold standard in the treatment of psoriatic arthritis. From our initial discovery, we are now in the process of B100-137 humanization. The humanized antibody will be then tested in non-clinical trials of efficacy, pharmacology and toxicity under regulatory conditions prior to its introduction into clinical phases. We plan to do that in a 4-year period according to the milestones and chronogram shown here. For that, an estimated budget of 4.5 million euros is required. We plan to obtain these from regional, national, and international grants and through the search of strategic partners. In this regard, we have recently been awarded one of the 2 annual grants from the National Psoriasis Foundation of the United States. Inhibitec is composed by a multidisciplinary team which includes professionals with a proven experience in finance and business management in pharma and biotech industries, and scientists with a good knowledge in the study of autoimmune diseases. To conclude, I would like to emphasize once more that by discovering a new molecular target in psoriatic arthritis, Bambi, and by developing an inhibitory monoclonal antibody, Inevitec plans to position B100-137 as a new gold standard in the management of psoriatic arthritis. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, my name is Elena Puerta and I'm CEO of LimnoPharma. We are very grateful for the opportunity to present our company today. In LimnoPharma, we are developing novel treatments against ocular diseases. Specifically, our focus is on retinal degenerative diseases, pathologies with very high prevalence affecting more than 200 million people worldwide and often leading to blindness. Among retinal degenerative diseases, the more prevalent one is age-related macular degeneration, with more than 190 million people affected in the world. The only treatments currently available for these pathologies are only useful for 10% of the patients, therefore leaving 90% of the patients without an effective treatment. Moreover, the current treatment available are administered as injections, which is a very invasive form of administration, very aggressive for the eye, and therefore complicating the treatment and decreasing the efficacy. In LimnoPharma, we try to find solutions for this problem, and we have developed drugs with high efficacy in mouse models of different retinal degenerative pathologies. In the figure, you can see a representative experiment showing the positive effect of one of our molecules, LIN21. The main advantage of our drugs is that they have shown efficacy when applied topically as eye drops. This will facilitate treatment compliance, increasing treatment efficacy and decreasing cost. All our products are protected under 2 patents licensed exclusively to LimnoPharma and extend this to the countries that have a higher prevalence of this type of diseases. An analysis of our competitors in age-related macular degeneration shows that most companies are developing complex drugs that must be administered as injection. Only LimnoPharma and another Belgian company are developing small molecules and eye drops administration. We think this is our major competitive advantage. A market analysis for age-related macular degeneration shows that, due to the huge prevalence of the disease, sales are estimated to be around $11.5 billion in 2026. In fact, if we take a look to one of the drugs currently available, Eylea, that, as I mentioned before, is only useful for 10% of the patients, this drug sold over $6,500 million in 2018, being in the top 15 pharmaceutical products by sales. LimnoPharma is a spin-off of the SIC and Fundación Progreso and Salud, founded in 2019. We have been developing our research in Spain, in Granada and Sevilla, and we are planning to continue our development in Spain or Europe until we finish clinical phase 1-2. In this moment, we plan to collaborate with a pharma, either licensing our products or selling the company. In this moment, we estimate that the ROI for our investor will be around 5 to 10 times the original investment. We are currently raising our seed round, estimated to be €500,000, needed to complete candidate selection, perform some preclinical non-regulatory experiments, and cover patent expenses. Our team is formed by 5 passionate scientists with experience in public and private R&D. We have also have high experience in intellectual property protection and business development. Last year, we were semi-finalists in the Everest Spain Prize, and we won the AIT Health Prize for the best startup company joining the network. During these years, and to move along the project, we have had the support of several scientific institutions, patient organizations, consultancy groups, networking, and investors. Here is our contact information, and we will be happy to talk to you and present a more detailed description of our company and of our science. In LimnoPharma, we truly believe our drugs will help millions of people worldwide affected with retinal degenerative diseases. Thank you very much.
The social object of Arthex Biotech Group is the development of innovative biotech service, process and products in the biomedical sector, based its business model on 2 strategic lines. 1, development and products of allogenic biological drugs based on research on innate immunity through a very solid patent technology that achieves an immunomodulation that induces regeneration phenomenon in different tissues. Sales. Our company sold more than 3 million in 2019 related to own treatment and drugs in order to generate cash to invest in the first line built through 3 group companies: CRES, clinical specialized in regenerative medicine, Liposmol, access to the precision market, and Biotixular Sport for sport professional. We are working now with Real Madrid players example. The most important one is selective rich plasma in our technology. Patent internally development process to obtain proteins and cluster of regeneration tissue selective cytokines from donated blood, which have regenerated effect on different types of tissues and their immune response. The patent can be used to develop more than 20 different biological products, drugs, at each biological drug will be patented individually. Our main technology produces selective growth factors generated by culture monocytes with different cells with application in the regeneration of various different tissues, especially pulmonary tissue COVID-19 and muscular tissue sport injuries. Preclinical for COVID-19 with eudacitin number assigned by EMA has been initiated, and EMS is assessing the process. Currently, 5 products clinical trials are planned on of which Arthex Biotech requires financial support resource for funding the 1 and 2 of the clinical trials. Our technology, first COVID-19 Arthex Biotech based in solution on cellular immunomodulation and proposed to prevent and treat of cytokine storm associated with COVID-19 by adequately stimulating innate immunity, by infusing a mixture of cytokine, chemokine, and growth factor of clearly anti-inflammatory effect. This induces the antagonic effect against the cytokine storm. A drug will be obtained at the end of this clinical trial. The main scientific for this clinical trial is Dr. Bermejo, former scientific development of Alofisel and responsible of cell therapy in Hospital de Fuenlabrada. The cost of this trial is more or less 8 million euros. Myobus is the same legal consideration of PRP, but separates selective factor from a specific tissues from the rest, allowing immediate treatment selectively and reducing physiological time of recovery from the lesion by 50% compared to the PRP as results. It optimizes regeneration and avoids fibrosis. A drug will be obtained at the end of this clinical trial. The main scientific for this clinical trial is Dr. Watt, very famous for the experience in sport medicine. The cost of this clinical trial is 11 million euros. There are other projects in our pipeline, like neuropine boost, neuropine treatment with cytokine nerve regeneration in other drugs for regeneration of their tissues. The company is leading for myself, a professional high experience in relevant position in pharmaceuticals company and experience in development companies in biotech market holders. For the creation of value, a total only in these two clinical trials, investment of up to 90 million euros is required through tickets of different investors to gradually complete the development of two clinical trials for two of the application, COVID-19 and sport injuries of our technology. A return on investment from the sale of two biological drugs in 4 years could reserve 150 million euros return of total of the 19 million euros of invest. This product has been validated by AMS as biological allogenic drugs, and due to the fact that these are human protein, security is assured and efficacy is guaranteed as we have tested these autologous treatments. Risk only could appear due to the regulatory delays. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Rafael Mañez, and I am one of the founders and president of Remab Therapeutics. This company is a spin-off of the Instituto de Investigación Biomédica de Belviche, IDIBEI, and aims to develop a first-in-class therapy to provide health solutions by removing selective antibodies. Remab has a platform of polymeric glycoconjugates that allowed a safe intracorporeal removal of harmful anti-glycan antibodies in different medical conditions. These conditions include infectious diseases, either bacterial infections and viral infections. We are investigating the potential use of our glycopolymers in the COVID-19 disease and also in other non-infectious diseases such allergic or autoimmune diseases and also in the blood group incompatibility. The most advanced program is the RA0127 that aims to generate a protective immunity against gram-negative bacteria by removing anti-alpha galactosyl antibodies. These antibodies are natural antibodies that all humans we have, that instead of being used to protect the individual, are used by bacteria to protect themselves and increase their infectivity. We have data, in vitro data, showing that RA0127 increases the bactericidal capacity of human serum against different gram-negative bacteria. Also, we have in vivo data in a severe model of infection caused by gram-negative bacteria after second ligation and punction, in which RA01 significantly improved the survival of the mice. And also, we have also safety data in non-human primates in which the prolonged therapy with RA0127 was not associated with any side effect. The main indication of RA0127 will be the prevention of gram-negative infections in patients admitted to ICU. we estimated a potential market of more than 4 million patients per year, and we consider that A0127 will have a significant impact on reducing the antibiotic consumption and antimicrobial resistance, will reduce the length of ICU stay and cost, and also will improve the efficiency of healthcare systems. The molecule is in the final steps of preclinical development with a roadmap that has been already validated by the Agencia Española de Medicamentos y Productos Sanitarios and is expected to begin the phase 1 clinical trial next year. The company team includes the 3 founders. Also, we have actually a product manager, and we have strategic consultants in regulatory affairs and CMC. Also, we have a scientific advisory board with world leaders in anti-carbohydrate antibodies, the synthesis of glycans, infectious diseases, antimicrobial resistance, and antibody-dependent enhancement of infection. The company has received non-diluted and diluted funding in the last 2 years and now is looking for 1 million euros to finish all the preclinical development, reach phase 1 clinical trials, and continues the development of the programs, of the different programs of the company. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Luis Ruiz. I'm the CEO of Ruti Immune. Ruti Immune is a new company what we have created to address COVID-19. We are developing actually a vaccine to COVID-19, a vaccine that is already in phase 2 trials, and we want to share with you our project, a new vaccine that is based on a mechanism of action called trained immunity. The unmet need, obviously, is COVID-19, the pandemics, and the question here is what would have been the economic and social return of investment of a vaccine that we had prepared, a non-specific vaccine, a vaccine that is like a first resource, a vaccine that is able to stop the expansion of a virus of unknown origin without needing antibodies, using another mechanism of action. This other mechanism of action is called trained immunity. Trained immunity is a way that our innate immune system can react much more efficiently against unknown infections. Our innate system, immune system, is prepared to be the first defense mechanism against aggression from the outside. After the innate response comes the antibody response, but our survival as a species depends on innate response. So what we are doing with vaccines based on trained immunity is to make this innate response stronger and to give it some memory. We have evidence that a trained immune response can last for 2 or 3 years. So it may be a very good tool with a different mechanism of action of specific vaccines. It can be combined with them. It can fill the gaps that specific vaccines will most probably have. And also it can be this first resource, first impact, first vaccine to be used when another pandemic hits on our civilization, basically. This vaccine is called Ruti. Ruti is a vaccine that is under active development, advanced clinical trials for tuberculosis, and it shares a common trait of all tuberculosis vaccines, which is they potentiate, besides the specific activity against tuberculosis, they potentiate the immune in the innate immune training it. They potentiate the trained immunity. So what we want to do is to use 2 million euros, this is the amount of money we need now, to run 3 different independent clinical trials in Argentina, in Mexico, in Spain, and to show that our vaccine is efficacious against COVID-19. Should we show that by the end of 2021, we will be 2021, we will be fully prepared to the global deployment of this vaccine under phase 3 compassionate use program, and to be able to distribute worldwide these vaccines even as early as the end of 2022, first quarter of 2023. So if you want to change the world using train immunity, please talk to us. It's a very, very interesting project with a very short outcome in the management of COVID-19. Thank you very much.
My name is Jose Muller, and I'm here to present to you the new company, Scorpio Therapeutics. At Scorpio, we aim at developing new drugs for rare neurodegenerative diseases. Our first drug in the pipeline is the 4Q compound, which is aimed to treat Huntington disease. Huntington is a fatal disease that affects about 50 to 60,000 people each year in the US and Europe. It's been developed for the past few years in Bionos, but it was first licensed to Bionos from the University of Valencia, where it was first discovered. We've been investing about 700,000 euros in this development through private funding and some public funds. But the market size for this drug, if it reaches the market, is about 2.5 billion. Now, the pre-money value for Scorpio Therapeutics that we estimated is 6.9 million at the moment. Now, the 4Q compound has a strong IP protection that's been extended to globally. It aims at treating rare neurodegenerative diseases. It's a chronic treatment. It doesn't cure the disease. It's a chronic treatment. We have preclinical results in different platforms: human cells, mice, fish, C. elegans, describing the efficacy, the toxicity, the mode of action, etc. It's a small molecule. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's soluble in water, so it's easily administered orally. The preclinical research that we've been performing in the past years involves checking the compound and seeing what it does in human cells, in bacteria, in C. elegans, in fish, and also in mice. Obviously, we tested the acute and chronic toxicity in wild-type mice, but we've also tested the compound and its efficacy in a transgenic mouse model for Huntington disease, the Q175 model. In this model, we checked that the compound reaches the brain, that is not toxic at the different level, at different concentrations, particularly the ones that we're using to treat the mice for 6 to 8 months. That's for how long we treat the mice, giving the compound every day orally. And we've seen that this compound changes the expression of different genes that are affected in Huntington disease, in the mouse model, obviously. Now, it also improves some motor activity parameters that we've been measuring, and all the preclinical results seem to suggest that the compound is working. Now, we need 2.1 million at the moment to continue our work and perform the regulatory preclinical testing to scale up the synthesis of the 4Q compound and to do all the paperwork to enter phase 1 clinical trials in humans. Now, the expected sales of the compound in 10 years will be 1.2 billion, as we calculated, as we estimated. And the value of the company in 2025, that we perform all the experiments that we plan, which would be an estimated time for exit, would be about 50 million. Thank you for your attention.